So we're going to talk about factoring by grouping, and like I told you guys in here, it's basically the same as yesterday. So you factor by grouping when there are 4 terms. Okay, so how do you know there's 4 terms? If you're looking at it, every term is separated by add or subtract. So there's 1, there's 1, there's 1, and there's 1. So there's your 4 terms. Okay, so anytime you see 4 terms, you're going to group. So what does that mean? You put parentheses around the first set and parentheses around the last set. Okay. I'm actually going to go to number 2 for a minute, and then I'm going to come back to number 1. I don't really like number 1 just yet. So we're going to put parentheses around the first 2, parentheses around the last 2. You're going to break them down like you did yesterday. So what are our factors of 32? Somebody give me some factors of 32. 8 and 4. 4 is 2 times 2. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. And then we have 3 p's. 8 is 2 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. And we have 2 p's. You're going to stop at those 2 and pick out what they have in common. So just like we did yesterday, what do they both have? Do they have a 2? Yes. Do they have another 2? Do they have a third 2? That's all the numbers they have in common. How many letters do they have in common? How many p's do they have? 2. So then we write that outside just like yesterday. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and 2 p's. And then what did we not circle? In the first one, we didn't circle 2 times 2, which is 4, and a p. There's a plus. What happens when we circle everything? What do we put? 1. Everything always has a factor of 1. So again, if you circle everything, write down a 1. Do the same thing with the next set. 28 is 7 times 4. So 7 times 2 times 2, and there's a p. And then here there's just 7 and 1. What do they have in common? Just a 7. It's a positive 7, so we're going to write that plus 7 because it's a positive 7. And then we write the leftovers. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1p. There's a plus between, and we left a 1 in the second one. You guys see these 2 right here, these 2 parentheses? If they are the same, you are doing it correctly. Got it? If they're the same, you're doing it correctly. If they're not, you got to fix it. Okay? That's going to be our first factor. And we're done with those. And then what you left out, read it left to right. What you left out is going to be your second. So you put another set of parentheses. And then we left 8p squared plus 7 on the outside. That's your final answer, and that's exactly what it should look like. So now you've factored. I'm going to go to number 4 because it's all positive as well. I don't want to deal with any negatives just yet. So we're going to drop down to number 4. We're going to group the first 2 and group the last 2. 21 is 3 times 7. You have an x and a y. There's a plus between. 15 is 3 times 5, and there's an x. What's in common in both of those? 3 and an x. So we're going to pull out a 3x. Read it straight across. What do we have? We left 7y, a plus, and a 5. Again, read it straight across. 28 we just did a minute ago. It's 7 times 4, so 7 times 2 times 2 times y. We have a plus. 20 is 4 times 5, or 2 times 2 times 5. What do they have in common? 2 2s. What is 2 times 2? It's a positive 4, so we're going to put plus 4. And then read it straight across. What did we not circle? 7y plus 5. Look at your parentheses. Are they the same? We know we did it right, so that's your first factor. And you're done with those. And then read straight across what I left out. 3x plus 4. It does not matter which order you put them in, as far as 3x plus 4 could come before the 7y plus 5. All right, we're going to move to number 5. Number 5. We're going to group the first two and the last two. The first two have a 3ab plus, remember 8 is 2 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2, and an a. So 8 is always 3 2s. They like to give you that number, so just for future reference. Do we have any numbers in common? Yes or no? No. Do we have letters? What letters do we have? Just the A. So we're going to pull the A out and then read what it leaves me with. 3b plus, what's 2 times 2 times 2? Yes, 3b plus 8. In the next one, we have negative 6b. How did I tell you to deal with the negative? Put what? Yeah, negative 1. Yeah, just like yesterday. Negative 1. 6 is 2 times 3. Then we have a b. We're going to have a plus negative 1 because it's a negative 16. And 16 is 4 and 4, or 2, 2, 2, 2. What do they have in common? Negative 1 and 2. What is negative 1 times 2? Negative 2. So we're going to write down a minus 2, negative 2. What did that leave you with? Read it straight across. 3b plus 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Our parentheses should look the same. They do. So that's our first factor, 3b plus 8. And then what did we leave outside? An a minus 2. That's it. That's how you factor by grouping. That's it. Number 7 is the exact same way. Exact same way. We're going to group the first two and the last two. Can you already see what's in common? What do they both have? Say it again. What do they both have? Loud. I think you're saying it. 12x, right? They have a little bit more than 12x. They have 12 and how many x's in common? Here's what I'm getting at. If they both have 12, don't break it down. Don't break it down if you already have it, okay? So they have a 12 and 2 x's in common. So 12x squared. What did that leave me with? In the first one, I have an x. I have a plus, and what happens when I circle everything? A 1. In the second set, what do you already see that they have in common? A negative 42. So the first one is a negative 42 and an x. The second one is a negative 42 and a 1. You said they have negative 42 in common. So we're going to take out the negative 42. Read across. We have x plus 1 left. What do they have in common? What looks the same? How do you know you did it right? The x plus 1. the other factor, what do you have left outside? 12x squared minus 42. That's it. All right. I'm going to go back to number 1 now. Back to number 1. What are your factors of 15? 5 and 3, and I have 3 p's. I have a minus. What are your factors of 21? 3 and 7 and 2 p's. What do they have in common? So they have a 3p squared in common. What did we leave? 5p. Minus 7. Perfect. Read it just like it is. All right, your next one. How do I factor negative 35p? How do I factor negative 35? How can I take care of that negative though? Negative what? Not negative. I don't care about this. Negative 1 first and then do 7 times 5. So negative 1, 7, 5, and p. We have a plus. What are your factors of 49? 7 and 7. What do they have in common? So they have a positive 7 in common. What did that leave me with? Negative 1 times 5 times p. Look at your parentheses though. What's wrong with your parentheses? How do they not look the same? The signs, right? So both of the signs are wrong. So this is how you fix them. You take your 3p squared and 5p minus 7 and leave it alone. Don't do anything with it. I want to change the sign. So now I have to change the sign of everything. So instead of a plus 7, I'm going to change it to a minus 7, which will change this to a positive 5p and a negative 7. So we're going to change the signs. Now, once I've changed the signs, do they look alike? Yes. So your first factor is 5p minus 7, those sets of parentheses. And your second one is what's left outside, which is 3p squared minus 7. So all you have to do if you forget how to work with that negative is change the sign if it looks backwards, okay? Let's see. Number 3 is exactly the same. We're going to group the first 2 and the last 2. In the first one, we have a 2xy and a 2x. What's in common? A 2 and an x. What's that leave me with? Y minus what? You're fine. Y minus what? 1. You're right. In the next one, how do I deal with the negative 3y? How do I break it down? Negative 1, 3, and y. We have a plus. 3 is 1 and 3. What's in common? A 3. But that leaves me with negative 1 times y, which is negative y, and a positive 1. If you look, the signs are backwards. How do we fix it? Change them. Leave the first set. They are perfect. Change everything else. So we're going to subtract 3, positive y, subtract 1. Now they look the same. So our first factor is y minus 1. And then your second one is what you left outside, 2x minus 3. All right. Look at number 6. It's the same type of question. Just bigger numbers, same type of question. What are your factors of 24? You can do 12 and 2. 12 is 2 and 6. Why would I leave that 6 and not break it down more? Because there's already a 6. So you can, if you would like to break it down more, you can. But at this point, you don't have to. And there's 3 x's. We have a minus 6 and 2 x's. What do they have in common? Mm-hmm. 6 and 2 x's. So 6x squared. What did that leave me with? 2 times 2 times x. 2 times 2, 4 and an x. Guys, y'all can answer. Come on. And then minus, what happens when I circle everything? A 1. And the next one, negative 120x. Factor it out. To factor out negative 120, it's negative 1. 120 is 10 and 12. Okay, you can work it out yourself, 10 and 12, so that means 2 and 5. 12 is 2 and 6, or 2 and 3, and an x. We have a plus. 30 is 5 and 6. 6 is 2 and 3. What do they have in common? A 5, a 2, and a 3. 5 times 2 is 10, times 3 is 30. Read what you have left. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2x, times 2 is negative 4x. If I circle everything, it leaves me with a positive 1. If you look, the signs are exactly backwards. Exactly backwards. So the first one stays. The second one changes to a negative 30, positive 4, negative 1. Somebody different. What's your sets of parentheses? What's your like parts? 4x minus 1. Somebody else, what's the leftover? 6x squared minus 30. That's it. That's all you're doing. All right, again, the numbers just get bigger. It's okay. I'll show you how to figure out those factors. Group them. When I do this, I might not know my factors of 105, but I knew that it ended in 5, so I can divide it by 5. So 5 and 21. And I know that 21 is 7 and 3. $140 is 14 and 10. 14 is 2 and 7. 10 is 2 and 5. And I have 2 V's. What do they have in common? There's a 7, 2 V's. What else? And a 5. What is 7 times 5? 35 and 2 V's, so V squared. I did not circle 3V in the first. I have a minus. I did not circle 2 times 2, which is 4. What are your factors of 60? 10 and 6. 10 is 2 and 5. 6 is 2 and 3, and we have a V. We have a minus. What are your factors of 80? 10 and 8. 10 is 2 and 5. 8 is 3 2's. What do we have in common? A 2, 5, and 2. 2 times 5 is 10, times 2 is 20. What did I leave? 3v in the first one, minus 2 times 2 is 4. Are your parentheses the same? I don't need to change my signs. I just write them, 3v minus 4. And then whatever's left outside, 35v squared plus 20 is my second factor. That's it. And again, these are easy because you don't have to change any signs. All right, look at number 9. Same thing. I have 196. I'm not real sure what my factors of 196 are, but I know it ends in a 6, so that means it's divisible by 2. So I get 2 and 98. I'm going to try again, divide by 2. I get 2 and 49, and 49 I know is 7 and 7. And then I have an X and a Z. Do the same thing with 84. I know it's even, so I can divide it by 2. So I get 2 and 42. 42 is divisible by 2. I get 2 and 21. And 21 is 7 and 3. And we have X, C. What do they have in common? 2 2s and a 7. What else? And 1X. 7 times 2 is 14, times 2 is 28X. I left 7Z, sorry, minus 3C. 112, I don't know my factors, but I know it's even, so I'm going to divide it by 2. You might know the factors of 56. You may not. Factors of 56 are 7 and 8. So a 7 and 3 2s. YZ. We have a minus. 48 is 6 times 8. 6 is 3 and 2. 8 is 3 2s. We have a Y and a C. What's in common? Four 2s, yeah. And the Y. 4 2s, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. And a Y, you said? Read what you have left over. 7Z minus 3C. Perfect. Parentheses are exactly the same, so we write those down. 7Z minus 3C. What did we leave outside? 28X plus 16Y. Great job. One more. Group them. 80mn minus 70m squared. Break down 80. What are your factors of 80? What are they? 10 and 8. 10 is 5 and 2. 8 is 3 2s. We have an M and an N. We have a minus. 70 is 7 and 10, which is 7, 2, and 5, and 2 M's. What do they have in common? 5, 2, and M. 5 times 2 is 10 and an M. What did we leave? 3 2s is how much? 8N minus, if we read it, 7M. Be careful on this one. Factors of -40, -1, 4 is 2 and 2, and 10 is 2 and 5, and an m. We have plus 35 is 5 and 7, and an m. What do they have in common? A 5. So it's a positive 5. But when I look at what I left, I have a -1 and 3 2s, which makes a -8m and a plus 7m. Our parentheses don't look alike, but what can I do to make them look alike? Change the sign. So keep the first. And then change. -5x, positive 8n, minus 7m. Parentheses come first. 8n minus 7m. And then our leftovers, what we left outside, 10m minus 5. Any questions? All right. When you look at your next part of your packet, this, y'all, literally, this is going to take you maybe 5 minutes, okay? It's already grouped and GCF'd for you. So right here, what do you have in common? What do they have in common? X minus 2. And then what did they leave outside? X plus 3. Now, they may be in reverse order. So check this out. Find these A through G. So A through G are on the left side. So we're looking for an X minus 2 and an X plus 3. Here's an X minus 2 and an X plus 3. So they're just written backwards, and that's okay. So we mark this out, and in the A box, we put the word V. Okay, I want to show you one more. I want you to look at H. What's in common on H? (3w minus 1). That's your first factor, so we got that. What's your second factor? Plus 1. So remember, there's always a 1 here. So on the next one, there's a 1. On the next one, there's a 1. So just be aware of that. On M, there's a 1. So then on H, it's somewhere over here. So 3w minus 1 is right here, and w squared plus 1. So H at the top is forest. Does everybody understand how that works? Literally take you like 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. I'm going to skip to your quiz real fast, and I want you to look at number 5. When you do number 5, let's see, let's look at this one. If you work it out, it's going to turn out to be something like this right here. But if you don't see this answer, bear with me for a minute. If you don't see this answer, it's because this still has a GCF. What's in common between 10 and 5? Another 5, right? So I could have taken out another 5. So you might see it look like this. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And they might have the 5 on the outside. So if you see an answer like that, don't freak out. That just means that you have a GCF, okay? So if you get to that one and you have questions about it, just let me know and I'll help you out, okay? So do the homework first and get it turned in and uploaded, and then do your little 5-question quiz. It's only 5 questions. Is everybody good? All right. I'm going to stop sharing, stop recording.